come and he demonstrated here for us. And I think he showed us how to make a really thin stem, long thin stem goblet or whatever. We also contracted him to come and teach us, do a day of sharing his expertise with us out at Ron's shop. And we made bowls that looked like this. That's what he was attempting to teach us. I got lucky and was able to do it once. I tried a second time and I wasn't quite so lucky. It looks good, but on close inspection, it's not. My third attempt, less lucky. And my fourth attempt, a little bit better, but it had a little bug hole in it that kind of showed up rather ugly. So tonight what I'm going to do is show you how to go from a log to one of these beauties here. I'm obviously, it takes too long to start here and walk through every phase completely. It takes probably about 4 hours for me to do it because I'm slow and methodical. But I think I can walk you through the steps so that if you want to try it, you can, or give me a call, I can come and help. Okay. First and foremost, however big you want this bowl to be, that is how long your piece of wood has to be. And it should have an equal diameter. So if you want to make something like this that's 8 inches long, you need a log that's 8 inches around because that's the way the math works. Okay. So I didn't know how much room I had on this lathe for sure. So to be safe, I picked a small log. It was only about 4 or 5 inches around. So we can only make here today a bowl that's going to be like this big, but that's okay. It's the same technique. If you get really brave and have a big lathe and get good at this, you can make bigger ones. And I know some people have tried and with varying levels of success.
I was going to say, it failed miserably.
No, they were successful, just not as successful as they had hoped.
My third one worked out.
Good.
Purcell's does fairly work.
So what I do is I like the ends to be nice and true, and I like it round, and then I go back and refine the center, because to make this come out and look balanced, the more accurately you can find center and then make a couple marks on here, it really makes life easier to have it come out looking nice. So what I do is I just take the log and I put it on the lathe. And what I did is I found center on here using a centering ruler. Everybody's seen one of these, right? Just put it on here, and this will draw you a line through the center. You rotate it a few, maybe 60 degrees, and draw another line. And then for grins, I always do a third one. Mm-hmm. And where all those cross together, that's the center. So you do that on both ends. This one's a little easier to see. Oh, here.
Well, it's up above. No, it's right there.
Oh.
Right in front of you.
So there's the center.
Yeah.
All right. So what I do, once I find the center with the pencil, because my vision isn't very good, I poke that hole a little bit so it's easier to find it.
Mm-hmm.
There. And then you put it on the lathe. And it doesn't really matter.
Do you like beating the center into the wood as opposed to just putting it on the lathe to tighten?
No.
What did you say? I'm sorry. Do I like
Do you like to take the center and hammer it into the...
no. You can, if that's what you want to do. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Not on a small piece like this. Normally what I do is I just tighten this up. So when you think you've got it tight, what I do is I lock the spindle.
Sorry.
There we go. And I just rock this back and forth and keep tightening. And that way it goes in, number one. Number two, you're not beating the crap out of your machine or your tools, which you don't want to do. There's no need to. And if you want to take your drive end and hammer it in, I would do so with a wooden mallet. Don't use a metal mallet because it'll mushroom over the end of this and it won't fit in here. And it'll score up the inside. It makes a mess out of it.
Yes.
So that's pretty tight.
Stuart, do you lock your tailstock down?
I will in a second. I just want to make sure everything's clear.
He was looking for a reason.
There is one that's You could have come to the
So now you lock down your tailstock so it doesn't back out. Because especially when wood isn't round, it can vibrate and this will loosen up. Real important. I think everybody knows that, but you can never hear it too often. So all I do here is medium, okay. Wow, that's pretty fast for sort. So all I do is take my bull gouge, my face mask, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just clean this up and make it round. Get it looking basically like that. Now you notice this has a lot of bark on it. And so you want to make sure when you're doing this that you're doing small pieces at a time and working your way down here, because you will get pieces of this flying off. If you can get it off ahead of time with a chisel or something and remove it, that's the best way to go. This bark is on here pretty tight and I couldn't do that, so this was the next safest way to do it. Okay. So you want to work this until it's round all the way along. Then, let's pretend it's all done. What you're going to do next is you're going to take and you're going to true this end up, go almost all the way through, and then go down here and true this up by using your parting tool and making the ends nice and straight. You notice I'm making two cuts, and I go in part way, and then I go out and I come back and start over in the other one and go down a little bit further, and that way you prevent your tool from jamming in here and stalling the machine. and we'll pretend that magically we got it all done.
Boy, you're
Nice job.
So now,
As Igor would say, the magic of turning, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
so what we're gonna do on here is mark that center, again.
Why would you choose the same center?
Normally what you will have done is you'll have cut the ends off, so you'll have lost your center.
Oh, I
Right.
usually hold my chainsaw straight so you won't have
Yeah,
that problem.
well, I didn't cut these.
Oh my gosh.
Tough crowd.
Yeah.
Of course. Feel my making?
Yeah, well, if we did love you so much, we wouldn't give you a hard time.
Of course.
That's what they say.
Yeah, don't love you
Tease
so
because
much.
we love them, right?
This is step I hope.
That's what my son used to tell his sister.
Don't love me so much.
Because he heard his grandmother say it once.
So that when you start.
Of course, they don't talk anymore.
Oh,
Right, so you don't have to get all the rest of that. Yeah, I just skip this and I go right to turning it.
So now that that is marked, we can put that on, and we can figure out how big we want to make, how much we want to use to make our bowl,
Exactly round.
and we can do the next step, which is you come out to this
Medicine.
magic. So now,
Keeps the man up with the perfect radius.
what we've done, you know, if this is slipping when you tighten it up and it still slips, you can clean underneath here. It's probably dirty. And it will stop slipping when you tighten it down. Just a little tip there. I learned this the hard way. So now, it's all round. You decided you're going to make your bowl this big. What you want to do is you want to go on here and mark out these ribs. There are going to be those little bumps around the outside. I don't know, what is the name for those?
Beads?
scallop?
Scallops. That's it.
Ridges.
Scallops.
Scallops. And you can make them any size you want, whatever your heart's desire.
Sounds a little fishy.
I decided on this one, they were going to be a 1/4 inch, so that's what size I made them. And you figure out where the center of the part of the wood is that you want to use. On this one, here's a big knot here, so I didn't want that to be part of my bowl. So I only used this much of it. And so what I did is, that's how much I'm going to use. I found the center, which turned out to be this here, I believe.
Looks like it.
I think it is. Next one over, that's the center. So it's important to know which one that is. So you just mark that one, so you remember that it's the center.
You're lucky you don't have pigtails.
Oh, jeez. I'm lucky you don't have an inkwell.
You're talking to her, not me.
I have my hearing aids on and I can't tell how loud I'm talking.
We know it's working.
So what I do is I use a set of dividers to make marks on here for where all these beads are going to be. And just run across here making those marks. And I should have probably done that on the other piece, but I'll just show you on this end here how you do that. Now this piece of wood is really kind of wonky right now because I had this all ready to go for the demo last month and I couldn't be at the meeting, so I had to put these outside and soak them down so they didn't all crack, which they did anyway. But now they're not round anymore. But basically,
You put your face shield down so you keep Stuart, your face shield's in the way.
It's blocking the camera.
Yeah, there you go.
better?
Yes,
Now I
perfect.
can't see. Seriously.
Take it off. The marking is okay.
Anyway, you get your mark there and then you do the next one. You make those marks as many as you want, as far out to the edge of your ball. And then what you do,
And you're holding that below center?
yes,
Okay.
absolutely. And this, I'm gonna go straight in. This is a really small spindle gouge that I feel safer using than a skew. I still haven't mastered the skew yet. I will one day. But you just go in straight, make a little mark, a little bit deeper. There. It's really bad. Lift this up just a little bit higher.
You know, Stuart, I have just a comment. I don't know if you're, on my shield, I had trouble with the shield. I was ready to pitch it, because when I first started turning, I put CA glue on it, used the shield, and of course I messed it up.
Right.
So I was getting ready to pitch it, I couldn't get a replacement for it. So I tried some Plastex, that's that compound that you use for your headlights,
Oh,
or
yeah,
anything
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And I rubbed that on there inside and out, it was like brand new.
Yeah, I did that to this one a couple times now.
Yeah, okay, there you go, it makes a
It
difference.
works really well.
It does.
Does
It
it
kind
take the
of,
scratches off or just?
yes, it does, and it
Yeah.
makes it just shines it right out.
Amazon sells the lenses for like $11.
But this one I bought 10 years ago and they don't make it.
For this particular one, they sell lenses for $11.
It's more fun with the plastics I already paid for.
Okay.
And it does good things. to
Yeah, because you
light.
had to do your headlights and you
Yeah.
used a quarter of the kit, right?
Right,
Yeah.
but that,
Now you gotta go see a doctor for that.
why didn't it come up?
Peanut gallery.
They're not always like this. They're not always like
There, you just turn those beads, all of them, all the way across. Probably easier on this one. So there you've got some beads going across here, and you know where your center one is. Then what you do is this is optional. It does look better in the end if you do this, which is burn these grooves. It has a pretty nice effect on there. I did one of the bowls there without burning the grooves and one with, and you can see the difference there, much more pronounced on this one.
Did you make that wire burn?
I did. It's just a piece of brass wire. Preferably you have steel wire, but I didn't have any, so I used brass. It works better than copper. Copper burns out too fast, too soft. Brass seems to be a little bit better.
Anyway, you put that on there, and you wait a little while. It starts smelling really good.
Sprinkler goes on. Where's the fire? Okay, there it is.
And you just do that all the way across. And we'll fill the room up if we do that here. And what you'll end up with is something that looks like this. Pretty good.
Nice.
Master.
You can make a box out of that like it is.
Fine box, too.
So what you would do is finish cutting this almost all the way through, and then I like to cut it off with this. I don't like going all the way through.
Yep.
On the lathe. Lee's brave, he does it, but I don't.
Yeah, you can smell it.
Only if it's in the chuck. I take it as that's off.
Yeah, if it's in the chuckle, but not the sweet citrus. Good point. One thing I don't like about the bandsaw is if it ever catches,
Yeah.
Oh.
man, it's so fast.
Sometimes it bends the bandsaw blade. Not that I've done that once or twice. But
I have. I break it.
I did it
Yeah,
once
yeah.
and it scared me so bad.
Oh,
I
yeah,
I've
yeah.
never tried it again.
Yep.
I learned.
Yep.
So now that that's cut off, it's down to the right size. You got all your beads done. You burned it here. You're pretty much done all your work you're going to do on that axis. And now we're going to start working on it in this axis. And so what you have to do is you have to look at your piece of wood and decide which part of it do you want to be the bottom, this piece here, and which part do you want to be the top, and where will the nicest grain be. And in this one, my hope was that I would have enough of the sapwood to have a nice white ring all around the top. As I was turning, I had to clean it up a little bit more, and that wasn't in the cards. So I'm not going to worry about sapwood on this one, and we'll just do it this way here. We'll make this the bottom, and we'll make this the top. Okay. So what you do is you, again, find your center, and you draw a line right out on one end, out all the way to here. And then you put it on the lathe and you use your tool rest as a drawing guide to draw it across here. Now, if you want, you could put a square on there if you wanted it and try to do that. It's just, this is pretty easy. The lathe's holding it for you. It's straight. This is straight compared to this, so everything should, in theory, line up. But if it doesn't, there's other problems you have to deal with. So what I do is I just, you have your mark on one end right here. See it? And it goes over to this side. So I just put my pencil flat on the tool rest, bring it up to that mark, and then just draw it right straight across. Make a good mark there, and then you rotate it 180, and you pick up that mark on the other side, and do the same thing. So now that you've got your marks on both sides, that's part of your new axis of rotation.
So the top and the bottom is gonna be the space in between the two marks.
Yes. So we said we were going to put, I said this was going to be the bottom, and this is going to be the top. So I made a little mark here so I know that that's. I'll find this.
What are you trying to show?
Trying to show this mark. Here we go. Two marks. There. That mark is what we're going to be punching and making our center point. This. There. And follow that around.
Make sure you're in the same beat.
I know. Otherwise, they'll be pretty.
Pretty warm.
Well, the 1 year is going to be higher.
You'll be able to tell real quick.
But you can do it on purpose too.
Yeah.
When you've got the
Well, you could do that,
sideways.
change it up a little bit.
You could. That's going to be another experiment.
Yeah, it'll be a half crescent.
So I've got some marks in there. They're not as good as I'd like them. This wood's a lot harder than So our whole objective here of this part of the turning is to make a tenon on the end of here so that we can put this piece of wood in the chuck and complete the turn. So that's our sole objective for this step. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this tenon right here. Okay? And what you want to do to check and make sure you've got this centered properly is just check your gap here, turn it around. Whew. Wow.
Tight.
Lucky.
Hey, you're good.
It doesn't always come out that good. No. Wow. However, it's a little off here. So you see this? This
An
line?
interesting shape.
But
Design
I
opportunities.
think it's going to be okay. We'll live with it.
Live or die with it.
I think we're going to be okay. Just make sure this is in. Again, lock this. You want to make sure this is in really good because you don't want it to shift a little bit because then your tenon won't be where you wanted it. So just keep tightening this up. Now, all right. So, I brought this tool, it's a caliper. This is the chuck I'm going to use. And I've set it to the approximate opening I want to make the tenon so that I have enough room to squeeze in and compress this. So I've gone and I've measured between two of the wider spots and come up with that is the size I need to make my tenon, that size or a little bit bigger, okay? You want this to turn fast. Speed is your friend in this project. If I were using my own lathe and there wasn't a ton of people here, I would actually have this going closer to 3,000 RPM. It makes it much easier to turn through the gaps and it makes for a much smoother cut. We'll work with this the way it is. It's weird when you turn that down. We're getting pretty close. And I'm going to take this down a little bit more so that we for sure have at least 3/8 of an inch engagement in the chuck. If you're doing a bigger piece of wood, I would make sure I got the full engagement. And if you're using a bigger piece of wood, I would make a bigger tenon and open the chuck further, or even use a bigger chuck. This is a chuck for one of these lathes, and works really well. It's called a Talon chuck. It's made by One Way. The bigger one there, Stronghold one, or the big, can't remember the other one, Vic Mark chucks, Nova chucks, have bigger, deeper jaws on the larger ones, and you can get a bigger tenon on there. That's it for there. So this is what we're trying to get to, and we would turn this out and get this.
Hold it over the top, so.
Oh, sorry. There.
Please,
So there's the tenon. Right here. I've got this flat so that it's not going to interfere with
Take off your facial, please.
with the teeth. Oh, is it in the way?
Right off the camera.
You want to cut the bottom of that tenon off so that it fits into the chuck, because it has a flat bottom on it as well. You don't want the tenon to hit the bottom of the chuck. You want it to clear that. You want the jaws to rest on this lip. So you want to make sure that this surface and this surface are perpendicular for this chuck. Some chucks have a dovetail jaw on them, so just make sure you make the right kind of tenon for the chuck that you're going to use. And then get it mounted. And what you can do then is you can finish shaping the outside to the way you want it. And you're basically going to take this and you're going to turn so that you have a shape in here that you're happy with. Okay? So in profile, what I did here is I chose a shape that looked like this. Now, after you hollow this out, you can come back and you can refine this to whatever shape you want it to be. Normally, I would come in and bring this down a little bit further and bring this down and round it out here. Put a little angle on it, like I did on those ones. And then eventually you're going to hollow that out, cut this tenon off, and that's what will sit on the table. And this will be your bowl. So we put this in and see what happens. I can't talk and work at the same time. Sorry. So we're getting this mounted in here. The only thing you want to do is make sure that it's tight. And you want to make sure that your piece of wood is tight up against the jaws here. You should see should be no gaps between the top of the jaws and the bottom of the tendon, okay? And then you should see clearance between the bottom of the tendon and the bottom of the jaws. And as long as you've got that, you're good to go. You can tighten this up. Tighten this up. There we go.
Typically done with dry wood or wet wood or both?
I would say it's probably easier done with wet wood. And this was wet when I started. But this wood has sat in the salt wood for 2 months in my yard. So it got way more dried out than I wanted it to be. Those ones were cut with wet wood. It makes it much easier. However, the drawback of wet wood is that it deforms and warps. So you just have to make sure you understand that that's part of the way things go. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to come and I'm going to redress this because it's been sitting, and I want to make sure that it's true, and I want to cut away anything that warped or changed since I made this shape, because this was the final shape I wanted. And what I did is I turned this right like so and all the way up so that you come right out here and you just barely take anything off here, and likewise on this side. You'll get to where you are just taking almost nothing off. Okay, that's what you want to do. And that's how this comes out nice and even. And I'm going to use a...
So you try and have at the high points a full bead.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Really true. Stuart, running through your
It's not bad, I'm kind of impressed.
It's twice tonight.
I'm gonna buy a lottery.
Oh, you ran all your luck twice today already. Don't waste time.
Gee.
Wait till tomorrow.
See if we can make this go a little faster.
There you go.
Now we're talking.
That will put a smile on your face.
Feels better already. Much better. Could probably take a little bit more off of there. I'm not gonna worry about it right now. You want this to be as smooth as you can, that way you don't have to sand it as much later. Because this is gonna be thin and pretty fragile, so that's important. This has a pretty good crack in it, so I'm not gonna go super thin.
Would you not sand this right now? Before you haul it up?
You could, yeah. You could sand it up here.
Yeah.
You're gonna come back and probably continue this line down further to thin this up later. It's a little chunky and you leave it that way on purpose because you're gonna do the hollowing and you want it to be stable when you're turning out here. Now, the fun.
Not for the fun part.
This is the real fun part.
Fun part.
see or not, but what I'm trying to do is I want to use the flat part on my gouge to parallel the outer surface of this bowl. And as I work my way closer and closer, I want to figure out where I'm going to hold that gouge so that I can just parallel it and work my way down. And as I get closer to the edge, I'm going to not go as deep so that we can get it thin without it breaking. And then what we'll do is we'll go work down some more of the center and work out to the edge and pick up that line and carry it on down through into the bottom of the bowl. So let's see what happens. That's now about as thin as I want to go here with this piece of wood. It's thin, it's less than 1/4 inch. We're down around an eighth, somewhere around an eighth of an inch. And so what we want to do is keep following that line down until we get down past here. Getting pretty close, we can come back and thin this up.
Is the crack close to
A little
you
bit more.
getting serious?
There's one here,
Right,
there's one here, and there's one here. I don't really want to go any more with this one.
yeah.
But normally what you do is you would hollow the rest of this center out, and I would definitely thin this down a lot more. And then the other thing, once that's done, we can go in here and we can finish cleaning this up, getting this to the shape that we want, and then hollowing out the bottom. And the way you hollow out the bottom is you make a plug that fits in here out of wood, and you put that in your chuck, and then you turn this around. Take a piece of wood and you make a plug that'll fit in here, inside that radius. So it has to be at least that small. And round it a little bit on the edge. What I do is I put some thin foam on there so that it has traction and it doesn't mark your wood. And I try and make the contact surface as large as possible. So try and shape your plug or your, I don't know, what's the name?
Jam chuck.
Jam chuck, thank you. To fit as much of that contour as possible. That way it'll distribute the force and it won't break this on you or break your bowl. But anyway, it would be like this. Drive is coming from the chuck through here. This goes into your tailstock in that original hole that you had when you turned this tenon. So everything should be perfectly lined up. So now you can turn and reshape the outside of this, and you can hollow out the inside here. Okay. And you get that down as far as you can, and you'll end up with a little nub in the bottom of there that you just break off, and then take one of your super sharp gouges and just clean it up, because these are really, should be very sharp. They work really good as chisels. Pardon me.
They do.
At the end, what you have, like I said, if you're successful, there's one that I did while I was practicing. It came up pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. I really like the wood. I want to find some more of that. But I don't know what it is.
How big was the tip on that?
That big.
Little time.
That's pretty good size. It might be avocado.
That's what I suspected it was from what everybody said.
That has a big tip. Yeah, that's avocado.
Yeah. There's the other one. So I got a little thin, I had a crack, and that's what happens is pieces fly off. So you don't want to do that.
Well, that's why you wear a facial.
Yeah, but still, I carry. Don't want to ruin your work.
Yeah.
And you'll notice it was wobbling and deforming so bad that it really got thin over here compared to over here on these two edges.
Is that because it dried on you or you didn't center it right?
No, it just, the way it deformed, when it's turning at 3,000 RPM, as it winds up, you can see it changing shape.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was a little funky wood.
It was so thin, and it's
Avocado soft.
very soft.
Effective wood.
Testament to those.
If I can make just one
Yes.
observation. I've done a lot of these.
Yep.
I did a few of them with the scallops on the sides,
Yep,
and I've done them like this long,
okay.
all right? You can make, you're not limited by the diameter of your piece. If you have an 8-inch piece of wood, and you don't need to put that huge base on the bottom.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You make
Yes.
the bowl shallower, and you can get an 8-inch
Sure,
bowl, but it'll be a shallow, very graceful type shape.
gotcha, okay.
All right?
Yeah.
You could have made an 8-inch tip, yeah, but it's more dangerous because it's like a propeller going around.
Yes.
And
Oh, yeah, you really gotta.
you got to pay attention.
Yeah. I would have liked better lighting in here, because I could barely see, that's why I was so hunched over. Normally, what I would do is I would have a light here, just a small light, and it allows you to see what's going on the
I have
far
lights
side.
everywhere because I can't hardly see. You know?
And then you know exactly where the tool's cutting, and away you
And
go.
the thing is, with a natural edge bowl of any kind, you got to keep cranking down on the tailstock because it's doing all of this.
Yes.
So, and like you said, the tailstock will back off on you.
It will, it absolutely will.
Especially if it's working like it's supposed to.
No, I mean
So all the sanding and finishing was done by hand or by getting somebody to hold it. and you sand it carefully with like a Dremel with a little disc sander on it, but really tiny, tiny sanders, 1 inch or less, and gentle. You gotta be gentle.
Because I've tried some of that stuff with just holding sandpaper on it, and it's, you know, you got the against the grain and with the grain, and
Yep. Yes. Yeah, if you're gonna do it, you can do it on the lathe, and I did one of these while it was in the chuck. I did the inside, and it just didn't feel right. I was gonna ruin something, so I just waited until it was done, and I got somebody to come and hold it while I sanded it.
You know, Sorby makes a beating tool.
Yes.
You just
Oh yeah,
zip, zip, zip.
It wasn't fun enough.
fun.
A lot of fun because they're all the same.
Yeah,
You're just learning and.
But you see, the idea is you're practicing getting perfect at it,
Right. And it's hard to.
and you
get
got to
perfect at
practice your beads,
it.
so you get brave enough to go use the skew tool.
Yeah, you gotta be 10,000 beats.
A day.
I think I'm at about 1,000, and man, oh man, I think 10,000 is short.
So that's a 1,000 a day.
We watched, there's a guy we watched at Palm Beach meeting that was teaching us how to do beads by video. I can't remember that guy's name, but man, he
Stuart
made it look
Mortimer?
too easy.
Stuart Mortimer?
No,
Skew?
yeah.
Oh, no, that wasn't.
You were there. I can't remember that guy's name. Al somebody?
Alan Lancer?
I think
Yeah,
maybe
Alan
Al.
Lancer,
Yeah.
the DP authority.
That
Or
guy,
did that big skew?
Fame in the
Yeah.
skew, right? Isn't that fame in the skew guy?
yeah, he used the roundy ones.
yeah.
Any questions?
No, cool.
Very good,
Okay, very
very
well.
good.